Let's take a look at associativity using Creo Parametric. So on the screen, you'll see that I have this generic component. And what I need to do is generate a part that fits perfectly onto this component and also fits within the central whole. So what I could do is make a separate component, using the dimensions from this to generate that. However, if we use associativity, we can directly link two models within Creo Parametric, and then any changes to one of the models will also be reflected on the other model. So I'm going to go through the steps and how we can achieve this. So to start off with, we need an assembly. So we need to go File, New, Assembly. I'm going to untick the default template, click OK. Let's select the units, click OK. Now I'm going to import my model into this assembly. So I'm going to go Assemble, open my component, click Open. I'm just going to position it using the default position, and then click OK. So now I've got my component in an assembly view. I can now create a new component within the assembly view. So this is a different way in which we can create components. It's not the same as when we create them as individual parts. So up here in the component tab, you'll see that it says create. So I'm going to click on create. It's saying create components. I want it to be a part. Give it a file name. I'm just going to leave it at the default suggested name. I'm going to click OK. And now it's going to say, how would you like to create the part? So by default, it will say copy from existing. Now, the one that I like to use is locate default datum. So this means that we can select 3 planes that will be used as our reference planes when creating our component. So I'm going to click OK. So if we have a look down here, you can see that it says select first plane, which will also be used as a sketching plane. So my first plane is going to be this surface. Now it's asking me to select horizontal plane, which will be the top. So I'm going to click this surface and then a vertical plane. I'm going to click this surface. And now we can see in the model tree, the assembly has been grayed out and so is the original part. And now I've got this little green icon next to my new part. So that means that I'm ready to edit and sketch any geometry that's required. So if I press this little arrow here, you'll see that I've got my planes. And I'm going to select this first plane. You can see that it's highlighted it. And the first plane we know is associated with this surface. I'm going to start by selecting Sketch. Let's go to Sketch View. Okay, so the view's flipped the other way, but we can flip that round. We can go Flip Sketching Plane. Okay. I can even change the orientation of it if I want to as well. So I can, there we go. Now, if I want to copy this geometry, there's a really simple way of doing it. All I need to do is click on the project tool up here, and I can click on any edges and copy them into this sketch. So if I click here, 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 press the middle mouse button, I've now got a direct copy of the original outline from the first component. And these are actually linked. So if I make changes to the original component, these will also change. I'm going to click OK here, and then click Extrude. And let's just flip the direction of this and give it a depth of, say, 30. I'm going to click OK. So now I've got my new component that's got the exact same outline as my original part. Now what I want to do is create a shaft that actually matches the diameter of the hole from the original component. So to do that, I'm just going to select on this back face, go Sketch, and you guessed it, we're going to use the projection tool. So we'll project these edges, press the middle mouse button, and you can see now I've got a direct copy of the hole. I click OK, and then go to Extrude. We can obviously change how far this extrudes through. So I'm going to change this to 100 for now. Okay. Click OK. So I've got basically a cover and then a shaft going through my original component. What we can do is change the color of this part. If they're both gray, it's going to be difficult to distinguish between them. So if we just go to View, Appearance, let's change it so that it's red. On the component, press the middle mouse, and just click there, and we're done. So we can activate the assembly again now. So if we just click on the assembly and press this little green button, you can see that now both parts are visible and we've got our assembly. So I said that my new component is basically fully linked to this original component that was imported into the assembly. So let's test that. Let's have a look at it. So if I open up our original part, we can edit the original sketch here. So if I just click here and go edit definition, we can edit this. So let's try it. Let's change the size of this hole. So let's make this 80. Okay, click OK. Oh, hang on, what's going on here? You know, I said that they would automatically update. Okay, they do. We just have to press a button. So if we come to the top here, it says regenerate. You can see that it's automatically changed the size of that part. So if I make any changes to that original component, they will be reflected within our new part. We're also able to link the sizes of different extrusions depending on different ratios within our assembly. So for this shaft, if I would like it to always be 2 times thicker than the thickness of this component, we can also do that. Okay, so if we go to Tools, you'll see here we have something called Relations. So I'm just going to click this button. Using this tool, we can actually create relationships between different components, different features, and meaning that, we can set mathematical formulas that will dictate how components will change shape. So, like I said, I want to make it so that this is always 2 times thicker than this. Okay. So the first thing I do is I'm going to click on Extrusion 2, and you'll see here it comes up with a list of different symbols. So these are basically references related to each of our functions. So D2.6 is basically related to the depth of the extrusion. So if I click on this, you'll see that it adds it in here. I'm going to write equals, and then I'm going to click on my original extrusion from the first component. And you can see that we've got some more relations here, and D8.2 is the thickness of this component. So if I click that now, so that directly links them. But what I want I want D2.6 to be equal to 2 times that. So if I put times, so just use the star key 2 and click OK, I've now added that relationship in. So we can test that out and check that it works. So if I go back to model, and I'm going to go on this original extrusion here, I'm going to change this to 40. Click OK. Obviously, we need to regenerate this. And what we will find is that actually this is now 80 rather than the 100 it was before. And if I go into my extrusion here, you'll see that it says 80 and it's actually grayed out because we're no longer defining it through that. And you can see how it's actually been calculated. So it's at D8.2 times by 2. Okay. If we go back in to the extrusion, change it back to 50. Okay. Regenerate. You can see it's also extended this component here. Okay, so that's just a quick crash course in how we can make components that are linked together and show associativity between them.